So you obviously briefly mentioned your experience with the NHS. When I think about the
Mm,
NHS in terms of sickle cell and what little experience I've had with the whole sickle cell situation, and just in general, I can see a lack of knowledge. What I thought was just a lack of knowledge, maybe a lack of training. But
mm,
what you seem to say is that there seems to be harm, like actual harm happening in the NHS
mm,
towards patients, whether that be purposefully or like not knowing it, or do you get what I mean? Like there seems to be
yeah,
harm actually happening. So can you like
yeah,
expand on that a bit more, just for people to actually know what's really happening
yeah,
behind closed doors?
yeah. So I'll start off by saying that I have done a lot of work with the NHS,
Yeah.
not just um, my contact with it as a patient, also as a professional. I'm currently the chairperson for the NHS England Sickle Cell Patient Advisory Group, um, because I do firmly believe that even though to create change, to create the change that you want to see, you have to be a part of it. You have to
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
crisis.
When you say they don't understand, is it that they haven't been like, because sickle cell is something we learn. I don't know if that's obviously now. I know I'm a lot younger than them,
Mm,
but
mm,
sickle cell is something we learn all the way from secondary school. I can remember it being mentioned in secondary school. Okay, this is a genetic.
yeah,
We might not have gone in big detail, but I can
detail.
remember it
Yeah.
being mentioned. And even now, it's one of the best examples that we use in our lectures, sickle cell, this, sickle
Mm.
cell, that. And I don't know if that's come with time and more knowledge, but is it that they genuinely just don't understand what it is? Or is it like they know that it's a disease, but they don't understand the severity of it? Do you get what I mean? Because,
It's both. It's
wow,
both. So it's depending on what generation. Like the fact that you've just sat there and said, "Oh, you heard about sickle cell from secondary school." At least I'm thinking, "Wow, alhamdulillah." Because in my time, for example, I didn't hear about sickle cell being spoken about until I was at university
wow,
into my second year lectures for pharmacology. So actually, no, that's a lot. I remember there's one sentence in the OCR textbook in A level biology, and they spoke about it then.
yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
specific.
And they
When
ask,
did you
they
get
ask
it?
you proudly, what's that? Like, it's not like they
Yeah,
pretend
they'll
to.
just say, "Oh, what's sickle cell?" And then the follow up question, which makes me get even more annoyed, is, "How long have you had it?" Then I'm like, "Okay, you really don't know. You really don't know. Can you let's get another doctor?" Because if you're asking me how long
What?
I've had this condition, that means you don't understand what genetics means. And if you don't understand that, I don't want you to treat me. But sadly, we don't always get the option. That doctor does have to treat you, and you have to explain from beginning. It's a genetic condition. It's inherited like eye color and hair color. Blah blah blah. Like yeah. So then you get some that do know. The majority, I would say, they know what sickle cell is in terms of they've heard of the word or they've heard of the statement, and they might say, "Oh, is it something to do with your blood?" And you'll say yes. Um, so they'll have that level of knowledge. But normally, when you're presenting as a patient to those institutions, you're presenting because you're unwell. So you'll
Yeah,
be in a lot of pain. And because we've dealt with pain our whole life, we're not going to present in a way where we're screaming and crying and rolling on the floor. Not all the time. Sometimes you
yeah,
are, but majority of the time you're not doing. And we live in a society where, unfortunately, as Black people, we are still met with suspicion.
yeah,
So yes, there are good nurses and doctors, and there are nurses and doctors that are Black as well and that look like us, but they will still, in a professional manner, be thinking, how am I meant to give this opioid when I can't see anything wrong? Do I believe the patient? Should I believe them 100% that what they're telling me is true? And if they don't believe you, then your care is always jeopardized. If they don't believe you, if they meet you with any form of suspicion, they're like, "Oh, well, actually, just sit down and have paracetamol first. Oh, sit down and I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming." Or, "Oh, I can't give you the medication because I don't feel comfortable. I'll get a doctor to do it." And then the doctor will come and say, "Well, I can't see anything wrong on your blood tests or your x-ray or your ultrasound. So I don't think you're in that level of pain. So I'm not going to give it to you." Those are the responses that you'll get all the time if they don't understand what sickle cell is.
and how can
Thankfully,
this change? Like, It's just making me sorry because it's just making me very annoyed, and I'm just thinking there has to be a way that this can
Change.
improve. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in my 30s. I've been working with the NHS for the past 20 years, and the change is slow. It's happening. I'm not saying it's not happening, but it's very slow. It has to first change with, I believe, the individual and the reason why they're in the job that they're in, and them understanding that, yes, we have all these diagnostic tools, but really, you have to listen to a patient.
Yeah.
And all patients, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, and people need to be honest about their own prejudices as well, because we all have a prejudice. Every single one of us, we prejudge people. But as a healthcare professional, you need to be honest enough to say, I do have a prejudice, but I'm going to put it to the side, or I'm going to challenge my prejudice.
Yeah.
Because then once you are aware that you might be treating somebody differently because of their color of their skin, then you can have a more honest conversation with that person, and you're more likely to listen to that person. So even if you don't understand what their condition is or why they've come in, you're going to listen to them and trust what they're saying. Because most people with sickle cell are expert patients. Like us, we're born with this condition. We have a high knowledge of what we need, when we need it, what works, what doesn't work. Most of us have a care plan that we'll bring in with us. So the instructions are there. There's nice guidelines. You know, sickle cell is the fastest growing genetic condition in the world and in the UK. And there's a set of guidelines that NICE has come out with about what do you do when a patient presents in A&E with these conditions. Pain relief has been mandated that it should be given within the first 30 minutes of a patient presenting to A&E. All these things are there to support doctors and nurses if they are going to listen to the patient and go and find them and follow the advice.
Yeah.
So I think it changes by ensuring that anybody going into healthcare can have honest conversations around race and prejudice and how to overcome them. I think after that, then it will be easier to get people to follow guidelines that have been published about sickle cell, because there are national guidelines that have been published for sickle cell. NHS England released an acronym, I think 2 years ago, called ACT Now. There's things out there that can help people identify what sickle cell is and how to treat it in different situations.
Yeah.
Funding is also a big issue. Like I said, sickle cell is the fastest growing genetic disorder in the UK, in England. It was one of the first genetic disorders ever discovered by man, but it hasn't been given the funding that it should be. It affects over 20,000 people in this country. And we have one drug that is used to treat sickle cell, which is hydroxycarbamide. After that, it's blood transfusions or blood exchanges. There isn't anything else. Whereas if you look at a condition like cystic fibrosis that affects a lot less people, you have over thousands of drugs for that condition. But the only difference with those conditions is the population that it's affecting. One predominantly affects a lot more white people, one predominantly affects more Black people. There is a systemic racism within our healthcare system, and that affects research, it affects funding. You also have to look at issues like, you know, as Black people, we do have a lack of trust for the system because of the historic failures and atrocities that have happened with
I'm not gonna
Black
lie,
bodies.
I do not trust the NHS.
Exactly.
I'm being so honest. I wouldn't trust my life with the NHS, and that's me being completely. And I've not even had the worst. I've had the tiniest experiences in terms of just stuff like, I remember I went to the NHS and I had these, because my skin is very sensitive, and I had these rash. I had this rash for a long time, and I had no clue what was causing it. Like, it would come on my arm, and then it would move to my legs, and I was so confused. And so I remember I went to the NHS, finally got a GP appointment, and the woman looked at my arms, white woman. She looked at my arms, and she said, "Oh, you're shaving. You just need to stop shaving your arms. Like, it's because you're shaving your arms. Like, that's why you're getting the rash." And I'm like, "Oh," and I said to her, "I've never shaved my arms before." And she was like, "Oh yeah, just don't shave your arms," and did it. And I was like, "Am I?"
Oh my gosh!
Is she not hearing me, or is she like? She literally went,
Yeah.
"Oh, just don't shave your arms. It's fine. It's fine. Just like stop shaving your arms." I came out of that experience very upset, very like confused as to how that even happened, and like thinking to myself, did that actually just happen? And yeah, so I called my sisters afterwards. I was waiting outside, I think, for my mom or a taxi or something. And like my sister was like, no, go back in and tell them you want a doctor, like someone else that isn't white. So I went in and I said to them, I didn't even know you could do that. Tell them you don't want a
particular doctor.
yes, I didn't even know that was possible. And at this point, I was in like sixth form or like secondary school. So I was like, oh yeah, can I please have another GP next time? Not the same person, not white, essentially. And so yeah, when I got the other GP, it was like an Asian Muslim woman, and she did blood tests. Like she actually took the time to try to figure out. To this day, I don't really understand what that really what it was. But it was nice to see someone actually put in the effort to try and get to the bottom of it, rather than just make an assumption and don't even listen to me. Do you get what I mean? So I'm just thinking about that. That's for a skin problem that hasn't even come back since then. I'm thinking about something you've been living with all your life, something you understand, like the back of your hand. And then for someone who is supposed to take care of you, who's supposed to be a health professional, not even know what it is.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? It just sounds so backwards.
It sounds baffling.
How am I the person with the disease and I know more? Obviously, it makes sense for me to know more. It makes sense for me to know, but it makes more sense for you to know even more about it than me, because you're the health professional. You've trained for this.
Like you said, of course, the person with the condition is going to know more in terms of how their sickle cell affects them and what their triggers are, or they're going to know. Obviously, we all know ourselves the most. We should do anyway. And doctors know more medically. That's what they're trained for. Doctors and nurses, in their field, they should know more in that situation. Or so you don't expect to have to go to hospital and then have to tell them, no, I need this treatment, I need this, I need that. This is what sickle cell is. This is how long I've had it. It's actually genetic. You don't, and you have to remember, when you're having to do this as a sickle cell patient, you're in pain.
Yeah,
you're in pain when you're having to. You're not even like, you might be able to communicate well, come across well, tell them what you need. That's just because we've been forced to do that. But the reality is, when you're in pain, imagine when you've got the worst headache and someone's talking to you, you're just like, oh, like you can't stand it.
Yeah.
But they expect that when you come into hospital as a sickle cell patient, you must be switched on. You must be able to answer all their questions, guide them through what you need to do. And you have to do it with a nice, happy, chirpy smile on your face, because God forbid, astaghfirullah, like, imagine if you gave them a bit of attitude, or imagine if you were like, listen, I'm in so much pain, I don't want to talk right now. Can you just follow my care plan? Then you get described as being aggressive. Then you get described as being you're being combative, or you're threatening. And as soon as those words start coming out, then your care is, you don't even get any care at that point, because all they're worried about is, oh, well, she was aggressive to me, so I'm not treating her, or this happened, so I'm not, oh, she said this or he said that. Like, it's like, sometimes I think if I actually spoke fully about some of the stuff I've been through, people wouldn't even believe it. You know, like how you felt when you came out of that GP appointment and you were thinking, did that actually happen?
Yeah.
Because you think, how could that even happen? Like, things like that have happened to me and to other people, and you just think, surely this isn't happening. Like, surely this can't be real. And because
I saw a story of a girl who said that she had sickle cell, and she said that a health professional slapped her to wake her up or something, or I don't know, something happened. She was doing a crisis. He slapped her. And I was thinking, that is assault. Like, how you assaulting somebody in pain?
Oh no, in pain. And you know what? I'm not even gonna lie. If I hadn't been in a situation where a nurse nearly slapped me, I probably, even though I have sickle cell and I know what these people are like, I probably would have read that story and been like, oh, I don't know. Really? Because that's our nature, isn't it? To really think, did that really happen? But I know that happened 100%, because it's nearly happened to me. And when it happened to me, it wasn't even a nurse that was looking after me. I'd never met her before. She didn't know me. I didn't know her. There was no issue. Like, she just was having a bad day. And when I reported it, the staff were like, oh yeah, she can be like that sometimes, but she's a good nurse. It's just, and it's like, where does the cycle end, isn't it? They're
Yeah.
understaffed, the NHS is understaffed, and I'm not like, two things can be true at once. People need to understand this. There is bad in the NHS, but there's also really good in the NHS.
And I also think that things that can be true at once is that yes, people are like staff are finding it difficult and it's hard for them, but at the same time, that doesn't give them the right to hurt
Not give,
patients
yeah.
because you not like you chose to have this job, but this is a job that you essentially, yeah, you chose to have this
You
job.
chose to do it, yeah.
You chose to be here, and if you're not happy, find another job.
Find another job.
If you're not
Listen,
happy,
you took the words out of my
like if you're not
mouth.
happy, find another job. Don't use the fact that you're not happy to hurt other people. Like you're
Yeah,
causing more harm to people who are already suffering when you're supposed to
exactly.
be helping them just because you're having a bad day.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
two things can be happening. One, you can be in pain, but doesn't give you the right to hurt other people and to put
Yeah,
them in more pain
pain.
because of your
Yeah,
pain. Do you get what I mean?
yeah. It's
It's
so true. You literally took the words out of my mouth. Like, yeah, just because the NHS is understaffed and under-resourced, that doesn't mean that it's okay for them to deliver poor care,
yeah,
and for that to be the accepted standard.
exactly.
Um, and I think, and for a lot of people, sickle cell is always labelled as like a pain condition, which rightly so. It is one of the most painful conditions in the world. I think the NHS did a list recently of the top 20 painful conditions. Sickle cell is on there. Most of my friends that have given birth, they're like, yeah, they'd give birth every day rather than have a sickle cell crisis.
Mm,
Um, so it's a very painful condition and it does require a lot of pain relief because of that. However, sickle cell also affects your organs. It can cause organ failure. You can have a
yeah.
stroke. Um, One of my friends had a stroke when she was 13. I had a small stroke when I was 16. I had my hip replaced 2 years ago because it can cause your bones to die. It can cause blindness. It, it can cause your heart to stop. Sickle cell affects every single element of the body, ulcers, your skin, um, so many things, and including premature death. Like, we can't forget that sickle cell causes death prematurely, and a lot of people with sickle cell, especially if your sickle cell is quite active like mine, and you've had to spend a lot of time in hospital, you will have seen people with sickle cell die. Friends that you grew up with, like I said, I was very lucky that I grew up with a big sickle cell network of people that I knew with sickle cell, older and younger, and you've seen them die. So when you're going in that crisis, yeah, you might initially be going for that pain in your arm, but in the back of your head, you're thinking, what else could be going wrong? Could I
Mm.
end up with a stroke? Is this going to be the crisis that kills me? Is this like you hear about the reports when people have gone into hospital and have been neglected and passed away? You're thinking, is that going to happen to me this time? So you have so much anxiety and defense already when you're presenting as a patient, a sickle cell patient in the hospital. And I don't believe that any of that, when healthcare professionals are giving training, is actually taught to them. I don't think they're taught and trained to see it from the patient's perspective. Um, and I think that would really help to kind of help them understand that it's not personal to them. Like, if a patient is coming in and they're a bit defensive and they don't want to answer any questions, or they are saying that they don't want you to treat them, they want somebody else to treat them, don't take it personal. Like, it's your job. Like, it's not an
Yeah.
attack on your personality, but you don't know where that patient's coming from. You don't know what they've had to deal with and what they've had to see, what they've seen with their condition. And it also goes for patients as well, because I have to be honest, like, when I was going through that really terrible time at the hospital I was before, I knew that even if I was going into A&E, and even if things weren't going wrong and they were just trying to do their best, I was still really defensive and really like, oh my gosh, that, like, this hasn't been done, or oh my gosh, are they going to do this to me? They're going to do, because I'm worried because of what had happened to me before. And I had to do the work to say to myself, Sadeh, you can't go, like, you have to consciously try not to assume that every time you go to hospital, it's going to be the
Yeah.
same like the last time. You have to
Yeah.
kind of give people a fair chance, which is
Yeah.
hard to do when the institution is been the one that has abused you.
Yeah.
It's hard to then like say, okay, give it a chance, give it a chance. But the reality is we have to go back. our survival depends on it. The health, whether we have a healthy life with sickle cell, depends on how well we can navigate the healthcare system if we need to use it. Because I do think that, there are people with sickle cell where their condition isn't very active and they're able to manage it really well at home. They're able to manage it with lots of different herbs or drinks that they drink or lifestyle changes, and that works really well for them. But for the people with sickle cell, that isn't the case, and they have to be in hospital a lot. We have to. There needs to be something in place to help us psychologically to deal with the traumas that we've been through, to not impact our further care going forward. And unfortunately, at the moment, it's on the patient to do that because there isn't any mental health investment really in sickle cell care. I always look at when I was a child and I had care as a child, it was like, I don't know if I should compare it, but I always say like, it's like when I was a child, it was like I was in heaven. Like my care was great. Like obviously when a child is sick, there's a lot of compassion and empathy and all that. I had great care. And then as soon as I turned 16 and transitioned into adult care, oh my gosh, it was like the fall from grace. It was like I just got dashed in hell. That's literally how it feels like. And it's really sad because I know a lot of young people with sickle cell that are in pediatric care right now. And to think that they're like, I know what they're coming to. They don't know yet. But I know that what they're going to come to in adult care. And there has been a lot of work around transitioning people and getting them ready for adult care and things like that. But until the system changes fully, because we have pockets of hospitals that are doing really good things. But like I said, the population with sickle cell is growing. So that isn't the average experience where we have a specialist sickle cell nurse and a specialist ward and all those things. So until that changes, the care is worrying and it is scary. And there has been a few high profile deaths of people with sickle cell over the past couple of years. For example, Evan Nathan Smith, he had sickle cell, but he was relatively well with his sickle cell. He didn't go into hospital a lot. He managed very, very well. His condition was well controlled. And he went in for a routine operation to have his gallbladder removed, which they did. But post-op, for somebody with sickle cell, you have more oxygen requirements. You may need a blood transfusion. You're a high-risk patient post-op. So they should have made sure he was being attended to more. But on the ward that he was on, they didn't give him any oxygen. He asked for it. He advocated everything that he could have done. He did. He advocated for himself. He asked his nurse. The nurse ignored him, said that he didn't need it. He asked the sister in charge. She said the same. He said that he saw the nurses just around the nurses station or laughing and joking, ignoring his call bell. So he rang 999 from his bed. That's the next thing to do. And so a lot of people wouldn't even think to do that. He rang 999 from his bed. He explained what was going on the ward. They said they couldn't help him because he was already admitted. And because they called the ward and reported what Evan had said, the nurses became very upset with Evan because of that. So he was ignored further. He called his dad and told his dad what was happening. His dad came to the hospital and within 5 minutes, he was rushed to intensive care and he died. He lost his life. And when they did the inquest into his death, the coroner came out and said he died because of mismanagement. He died because people ignored his calls for help, because he didn't get the care that he should have got as a sickle cell patient post-op. He was placed on a ward where there wasn't any oxygen next to his bed on the wall, where he died because the nurses didn't have enough training and understanding of sickle cell. In this 2020 year, this is what the coroner had come out and said. That's why he lost his life. So when you're somebody with sickle cell or you are a family member of somebody with sickle cell and you're watching that person having to go to hospital, knowing all these things are happening, you can just imagine the stress, the trauma, the worry that goes through your head. And it does sometimes make you feel like, where is the change and has change happened? And I do believe that change has happened, but it's not quick enough. And because we're starting from such a further back position, even though we're changing, we're so far back compared to all the other conditions that it's not making the impact that it needs to in terms of care and understanding and knowledge on the ground. And even within the Black community themselves, there's a lot of Black people within our community that they don't know about sickle cell. They haven't had their genotype tested. They haven't gone and checked whether they carry the trait. They don't want to donate blood. They don't understand why it's needed. GP surgeries, again, useless in terms of genetic testing, because a lot of them, you will go and ask for it, and they're not aware that they can give it to their patients or how they're meant to order it.
That is literally what happened to me. I swear to God. When I said I was going to do a story time in here. When I wanted to find out so I knew my genotype. My mom told me I was AA, but at that point, I wanted to be sure because I was talking to somebody in terms of for marriage who was AS. And I needed to confirm. I was saying to my mom, this is not something that you just joke about, like, oh, I'm sure I'm AA, and then go into marriage. Like, so I said to the auntie who was setting us up, I said, let me find out fully. And I said to her, oh, maybe it's going to take 2 weeks. Like, I thought it was going to take the smallest amount of time. It's like, again, at that point, I wasn't really sure exactly what it entailed, but I thought it would take the most 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
It took me a month and a bit.
So why did it take a month and a bit? Because
so the first time I called the GP, I called my GP. I said to them, oh, I would like to get my sickle cell genotype. She said, huh? She said, she was like, what did you say? Like and I was like, oh, she was like, oh, we don't do that here. I was okay, fair. It's like, again, even though I was in my first year of uni, I didn't know how all the systems work.
Work, exactly.
So my sister, again, thank God my sister is a nurse. She literally has saved me so many times. So I said to her, oh yeah, the GP said they don't do that there. She goes, what do you mean, a blood test? Of course they do that there. Just go and tell them you need a blood test for your genotype. And I said, okay, yeah, sure. So I did that. So then that's when she was like, oh yeah, we do that. And then but the first time they didn't even test for sickle cell. So I did 2 blood tests. The first time they didn't even test for sickle cell. So they just took my blood for free because they didn't even test for sickle cell. And even the second time when they tested, it took so long for the results to come out. The results came out. It was this complicated piece of paper. It was just a very weird process that showed me these lot are more confused than I am. You know?
They are. Yeah.
It doesn't look like I was confused, but they are way more confused than I am.
More confused, yeah.
And that worried me because this is a disease that affects, at that point, again, I didn't know how many, but it affects a lot of people in the world. Yeah. Like, many people are carriers, it's a common, you know what I mean? It's a common, I'm sure every Black person knows someone who is a carrier. Every Black person knows at least someone who has sickle cell, even if it's not their family direct, someone in their extended family, someone who's a family friend. Or they've even heard about it. Okay, this person has sickle cell. They might have never met them, but they know about someone. You know what I mean? So
it's so true.
Knowing that kind of percentage, I was thinking, no way this is the healthcare position right now. Do you get what I mean?
But you know what's crazy though? You know why it's even more crazy? Because they do the heel prick test. They're testing for sickle cell in the heel prick test for every single baby, not just Black babies, not just Asian babies, white babies, Chinese, pink, whatever. Every single baby is tested for sickle cell to see if they've got sickle cell disease. So if the NHS has understood that it's that serious to test every single baby, why is it not that serious that your GPs know how to do the test?
When people are like, oh, I have a son who wants to get married, and then someone says, oh, I have a daughter who wants to get married. I don't think they even think about it. Doesn't even cross their minds.
They don't.
It doesn't even cross their minds. My sister, she's a carrier and she's a nurse. So as soon as my mom used to say, oh, okay, I have a guy, straight away she'd say, what's his genotype?
Yeah.
She doesn't even ask about his job, what is his, that's her first question. And as soon as she hears that he's AS, yes. No, literally, as soon as she hears that he's AS, she's like, oh, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
She cuts it off point blank, period. Like, she doesn't even take a step further. And I think that's because she's a nurse.
Your viewers, take note, please, because I'm fed up of this. Oh, love, and we fell in love. No,
Oh,
why are you falling in love? Don't
stop.
fall in love.
Stop. Don't even get to that
Find out
point
on
before you
this.
even
This
find it
should be like a
out.
first date question, not even a date stuff like, but not like that. But
I get what you
if
first
you're looking
conversation.
for marriage, yeah, first conversation, put it on the form. If you don't want to put it
Mm.
on the form and you want to wait a bit, because I get it, especially if you've got SS, you might think, oh, they're going to judge me based on the SS. But if you've got SS,
You
you
need to be
shouldn't want no
transparent with these
children. You
things.
have to,
And I
exactly.
think that's what people confuse about knowing. Knowing is not about, oh, now I know, maybe I need to be sad about it. Knowing is about, you now have choices
Yeah.
in
It
how
gives you
you
power.
it, thank you. It gives you the power to now make a choice. How do I move forward now, knowing this information that I know?
Yeah.
And I don't think people are really deep in that enough. And it's
No, they're not.
very worrying. It's really,
Yeah.
really worrying. And especially now that I've sat here and had this conversation with you and understood
Mhm.
exactly what we're dealing with. Because I mean, again, when you learn about sickle cell or a disease in a very mechanical and like scientific way, it can
Way,
take away the
yeah.
human experience from it, right? It can make you
Mm,
feel, okay, well, this is how it happens, and hemoglobin and all this and all that. But when you
yeah.
hear about it as a human experience, you really deep that this is not just about what's happening in the body. This is about how it's translating to a
Mm,
human's life, you know?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you
Because
think that, do you want that to happen to your children? Like I'm so like,
mm,
do you want your children to
yeah,
be living with this their entire
exactly.
life?
Their entire life. Like it's not like the physical aspects of it. Even like I was thinking back when you asked me about the relationship with my brother and or like my family. And I was thinking, you miss out on so many things. When I tell you, oh my gosh, you miss out on if you celebrate birthdays or not, or christenings, weddings, you miss out on weddings, funerals, birthdays, your own graduations,
Mm.
your you just miss out on everything. Any family event, you're not there. Everybody else is there, they're not there. Or your parent now has to miss it because they have to take you to hospital, or your sibling has to miss it. And it's so unpredictable. That's the worst thing I think with sickle cell. The pain is bad, but it's the unpredictability that's worse. I will be sitting here now looking great, talking to you, having this conversation, and then I could be in a crisis just like that.
Mm.
Literally, sometimes to the point when it happens, I actually think, nah, I think I'm making it up. Like it takes me a while to think there's absolutely no way, because I was absolutely fine and I went for a walk and I felt good. I had no pain. And then within the space of 5 minutes, you're telling me that I'm in agony, I need morphine, I'm rolling around in pain, and we're calling the ambulance. Those two
Mm.
realities can't, it doesn't even seem like fathomable.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't even seem real that that could happen, but that's literally what happens. And you're saying that you're consciously okay to bring a child into that reality with all the hardships that we have anyway as
Yeah.
humans. You want to add another one because we all have hardships, we all have something that we have to battle through. But why add something if you don't need to? Even look at my example. I'm the eldest, and my mum and my dad's first child together. They me I have full sickle cell disease, full SS. I have a younger brother. So sometimes I remember when I was younger, I used to think, oh, but why did they have my brother if they had me and I had SS?
Mm.
Like, didn't they think about it?
Mm.
Or were they just like, oh, let's just see what happens? And I asked
Yeah.
my mum, I said, no, I told your consultant that I wanted another child, and they're able to do a test to make sure that a zygote or depending on
Yeah. Yeah.
whenever they
Yeah.
do the
Yeah.
test,
Yeah.
doesn't have sickle cell, whether they'll carry
Mm.
the trait or whether they'll
Yeah. Yeah.
have
Yeah.
normal hemoglobin. So she was able to have my brother because she had that knowledge. So it's like you said, like I think a lot of people don't want to find out because they're going to see it as this bad negative thing. The reality is, for majority of people that have the trait, you don't have any issues, you don't have any problems, you
Mm.
don't feel anything. It's just a genetic trait that you carry. And you knowing whether you have that and whether your potential person that you might have children with has that just gives you more options. Just think you need to just sit down for a second and pause and reflect and think, anybody in your life that you love, if they've told you that they're ill or they've got the flu, because the flu is not nice, they've told you they've got the flu, and in you're like, you don't have it, and you can't help them, but you're just like, oh, really, like oh, I hope you get better soon. Like, oh, it's not
Yeah.
nice. And you imagine what it's like for you having the flu. Or if any of you listening, you guys are parents and your child has a cold or a stuffy nose, you're like, oh, I'd rather I have it than them, or I just want them to
Yeah,
get.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that's like a flu or a cold. So
Yeah.
if you, as somebody, can prevent your child having to have their blood drawn as a
Yeah.
baby, like in their fingers, and their fingers are getting sore, blood transfusions, scars from all the lines, operations, like extreme pain that you can't do anything about. You're just going to watch your child roll around and scream and cry in pain, and they're hooked up to IVs. And you, as the parent, are going to sit there and think, I could have prevented this if I just found
Yeah.
out. The amount of guilt that you must, because I know that my mum has guilt
Mm.
and she didn't even know. So for the people that do know and ignore it or think, oh, you hear lots of reasons why, oh, God will give me the strength to get through it. Oh, if I pray, it'll be okay, or this, or like I said, for the people I know, they've said, oh, well, I got through it, so they'll get through it, or it's character building, whatever reason. In those moments, those reasons are not going to be enough to get you
Yeah, they're
through.
not. Yeah.
It's not going to be enough.
They're not.
But yeah, that's one thing I think hasn't had enough focus from the NHS is GP surgeries understanding when patients come to them, it really frustrates me because it's unlikely that people go to them anyway to ask for the test. And then when the person is responsible enough and they do go to them and they say, I want this test, and the GPs are then clueless, the reality is some people, if you don't have a sister that's a nurse, you might just be like, oh, well, okay, I couldn't get it. And you just carry on with life. You forget, you get married, you have kids. Then what? Because you did try. And then your baby is now going to be the 300th baby born in the UK with sickle cell.
Exactly.
So the GPs really need a lot more education, because anybody, if you're watching and you want to find out your sickle cell genotype status, you can go to any GP. It doesn't have to be a specialist GP. Any GP should be able to offer you that test.
And they didn't even offer me their self. I had to go to like a hospital to get the blood test. It
To
wasn't
go
like I
and get
had.
the test.
Yeah, it wasn't like the I got it from the GP. I got it from a
Yeah.
hospital.
Yeah,
So
I think a lot of GPs now you have to go to the hospital because they don't do
yeah,
blood at their clinic, but you can ask your GP. Your GP should be able to refer you to get that test if they don't do
exactly.
bloods at
Yeah,
the clinic, or they can do it there. If you do want it faster, the shortcut is you can look online to find out where your local sickle cell specialist clinic is, and you can go directly to them. Like you
yeah,
can
yeah.
literally call the sickle cell clinic and they'll do it. But not everybody has one close to them. So
Exactly.
you GPs, come on, man.
They need
You
to
could be
fix up.
helping society, innit?
Yeah, like they're the first
But
line of contact, right? No one goes
yeah,
straight to A&E. Like that's not possible.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
GP is the first line, and I feel like there is a lot lacking there. I used to
Mm,
dread going to the GP when I was younger and I was sick because it just felt
yeah.
like that was when I was even younger. It just felt like I was waiting there for hours. It was boring. There was nothing.
Mm,
Like it was just, and it felt miserable. Like it just didn't
mm.
feel like, you know what I mean? The
It's not a
GP,
place that you want to be at.
yeah, like no one wants to be sick anyways, but then you're sick in a
Yeah.
place where it doesn't even feel like anyone really cares.
Pairs,
It
yeah.
makes it
It's
even
just a
worse.
quick in and out, like, oh, why are you here?
Exactly.
Like the kind of it's the impression is like you don't like why are you here? Disrupting my time,
Yeah.
kind of.
And as
Yeah.
I've gotten older, it's even worse. It's even more like the experiences I've had, even though they've not been that big, they've
Mm,
they've definitely pushed me more away from GP. And I just pray to I
yeah.
literally pray that I don't ever get sick and I don't ever have to go to the GP, because
Yeah.
really and truly I find it kind of useless personally,
Mm,
from the
yeah.
experiences that I've had. And yeah, that's just how I think that's what my relationship with healthcare or NHS is right now. It's very much I
Is
want to avoid it
yeah.
as much as I can because I don't think
Mm,
that it's helpful. And that's
yeah.
sad because my sister is a whole
It
nurse,
is
but
sad. I know.
but even
I
herself,
think
she's had terrible experiences working there. Like
yeah.
so that also, I think that also has to come into conversations where some healthcare professionals, maybe the ones that are starting off, they just finished uni and they're going into
Mm,
training, they are treated terribly there as well, and that pushes
yeah,
them
they
away
are. It
from
does.
wanting to go back, and some of them give up right? They might have
Yeah.
the best intentions going into wanting to be a nurse, wanting to be a midwife, wanting to
Yeah.
be a doctor, and they have the absolute worst experiences there.
Yeah. People do not talk about the toxic work environment that is the NHS. And I'm talking about this as a professional that worked in this environment
Yeah,
and as a patient that, because I'm at the hospital, remember, I've been at the hospital for like 200 plus days. I've been in the
yeah.
hospital for 6 months and one admissions once. So you see a lot. You see the dynamics. You see which friend groups are this and that. You hear the comments, and
It's like
it's a
secondary
very
school,
toxic.
isn't it?
Literally, the
Yeah.
NHS
It
is
feels like it is. Yeah.
it's a toxic environment, and what you said is right on point, because it's always the staff that are the nicest, that really love their job, that are there actually for the patients, that will go above and beyond. They're the ones that will be targeted because, yeah, they're the ones that get outcast and targeted, and even if they don't get targeted, they burn out quicker because they're really trying to do the best that they can with the little resource that they have and the little
Yeah.
support. And sadly, like, I always make a list on my phone of like all my favorite nurses. And when I look at that list, majority of them have left the profession, or they've
Wow.
left sickle cell care. They don't want to work in sickle cell care anymore, because not because of the patients or anything like that or the workload. It's because of the toxic environment from other colleagues.
Yeah.
They don't have support. And it's really sad. Like, it's sad to experience it as a patient and to see it as a patient. But as a professional, like I said, that this is something that you've trained for. You have a passion for this job. You really have the best intention, and it gets beaten out of you. Um, it's hard. It's really, and all of this again affects not just sickle cell care, it affects everybody's care. But I feel like for sickle cell patients, we really hold on to the staff that treat us well. And because we're in this institution from birth, like, I was in children's care till I was 16, and I've been in adult care longer than that now, because I'm into my 30s. And you build a relationship with these people. Like, about their kids, when they're pregnant, when they get married,
Yeah.
if they have a death in the family, if they're going on holiday, what their favorite color is. They know so much about you. Like, as much as there is a boundary because they're a professional and you're a patient,
Yeah.
those boundaries get very blurred when you're a patient that is like there chronically,
Yeah.
once you're there all the time. And you also get invested in them and who they are, and you feel it for them when they have to leave, and then you feel it like, I always say, when nurses come and tell me that they're leaving, I always say to them, I'm really happy for you, but I'm sad. I can't believe you're doing this to me. Like, if I was to be selfish, like, I would be really upset for you right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, for myself, like, I don't want you to leave, but
Yeah.
you're happy for them because you want them to go on and do better and,
Yeah.
promote all of that. But you do feel it because you hold on to those good nurses more so. And I think it's something that needs a wider discussion in the NHS, and how they can retain their staff and make it a better working environment.
Yeah.
Because it would make a big difference for everybody
Yeah.
using the service.
I wanted to ask what steps you take to take care of yourself. I know you were saying before that um that faith is a really big aspect that has helped you deal with um your feelings towards sickle cell. But I wanted to know what steps you take maybe after a crisis or before a crisis, or that you're feeling quite um low in energy that day. Like, what steps you take?
Okay. So that question is one I'm still learning.
Okay.
Um, in different aspects. So I think I'm not, I think I am very good at looking after myself in terms of, I say I'm very good. Yeah, I'm still learning, guys. It's a journey.
Mm.
Um, in terms of my mental health, I feel like I have become a lot more aware of my mental health,
Mm.
and have put a lot of things in place to look after that side of my
Okay.
health. So, for
Okay.
example, for me, like, my faith, my religion, and practicing it is a really big way that protects my mental health and helps my
Mm-hmm.
mental health.
Yeah.
So, for example, I have like, as long as I'm well, I have to be at the Jummah hutbah. Like I have to be at the mosque on a Friday for Jummah,
Yeah.
even though it's not compulsory for me. Like I have to just be there because it's kind of my reset for the week, and it mentally really helps me, and it just forces me to get out of whatever funk I'm in. So that's something that I've put in place to the even to the point of I am looking into going back to work, inshallah. And
Inshallah.
I've been offered a few jobs, and they're like, "Oh, you need to work on Friday." I'm like, "Yeah, I can't. Oh, sorry, I can't have this job." Like because I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't work for like because for me that's just so. It's like a lifeline for my mental
Yeah.
health. Um, so that's in place. And I think in terms of like I said, I've been aware of what triggers a crisis from a young age. So I know that I have to drink a lot of water. I have to stay hydrated. Um, you will always see me with a water bottle. This was like not even a reach away. I've always got
Yeah.
some kind of water bottle with me, or water, coconut water, something. I always have fluids around. I drink a lot of water. So I'm very good at doing that. I could be better at adhering to my medication, which is so funny because I'm a pharmacist. But guys, do as I say, not as I do. Okay. um,
The
I could be
irony.
better at that. I know, so it's really bad. Um, and I always keep up with my hospital appointments. I try and I don't really keep a diary of my symptoms or anything like that, but I'm quite good at remembering like I did something this day and then this made me feel this way. And I try and keep a note of those things so that when I see my consultant, I can talk to her about those things. Um, so I make sure to stay on top of like that side of things, which is kind of before I become unwell.
Yeah.
Um, I also, in terms of my diet, I'm quite a fussy eater anyway. Um, and I'm not a big foodie, which for me, I think that's a great thing. For some people, that would be not a great thing, but I'm not someone that's really into eating food, and I don't really enjoy eating food a lot. So it makes it easier for me to eat a bit more healthily in terms of
Yeah.
like, I won't eat a lot of meals. Even though so when I was younger, I used to fast. Like I said, that's kind of my journey to Islam. But when it's Ramadan now, I don't fast how we would as Muslims because I still drink water.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of food, for example, I would fast from food or snacking. Um, and even in my daily life, I would say that's kind of like intermittent fasting because I probably have one big meal a day and then another smaller meal.
Okay.
And I try and make that as nutritious as possible. Like I said, I'm from a Caribbean background. I'm Jamaican, so even with yourself, there's a lot of things that our parents and grandparents drink and eat that are really healthy. For example,
Yeah.
my mom makes a lot of natural beetroot and carrot juice. I take sea moss. Um, Certain like porridges that we have, like my plantain porridges or cornmeal porridge, or
Yeah.
um, like a lot of our foods are really nutritious. So don't let people tell you that otherwise. It's really frustrating. Like when these doctors, like it's always a Western diet, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
our African and Caribbean foods are very nutritious.
Yeah. And I also
Maybe the
think
way that we cook them,
it's also about like how much you eat. Like it's
yeah,
also about like if you're putting so much on your plate, that's also a
plate,
problem. If you're eating
yeah,
jollof and plantain, but the jollof is like literally like a
mountain,
literally obviously that's not healthy. But if you're
yeah,
having jollof and like you have jollof, you have some salad on the side, you have some chicken, you have some,
mm,
that is still fine. I think I'm not professional in
yeah,
that, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that because people like Western people eat like rice and chicken. What's the difference between
exactly.
that and jollof rice and chicken, you know?
Yeah,
So
exactly. And it's also the way that we cook it. We can cook it in a different oil, or we could air fry it, or do you know what I mean?
exactly,
Like,
exactly,
so we
yeah.
can still stick to our foods. And you know what? Our parents and grandparents have a lot of remedies that are good for things. So
Yeah,
um yeah, I use those as well. So those kind of help me kind of keep well
yeah,
overall. I'm learning how to rest and to do nothing. I think for various reasons I think for a lot of Black women, actually, we find it really difficult to rest, and we find like we get really guilty about it, or it's like a concept that we just don't know how to do. Even though we say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to have a restful day," that means, "Oh, I'm going to clean the house. I'm going to do this." We can't stop and
Oh,
do anything.
it's like you're reading my mind.
It's so
Literally
true, though.
today I was like, today I'm like, I am in pain right now because obviously the
Mm,
cycle and all that. And I'm like, I
yeah,
need to take a break today. But even that feels weird to say. I'm gonna
weird
take
to
a
say.
break. I'm not gonna do
Yeah,
anything. What do you mean?
mm,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's a hard concept to get around.
It really
But
is. It's so hard.
like I remember one time we were in like an Islamic camp or something, and
Uh,
they were talking to the young girls about like periods and when you start your period and stuff like that.
yeah,
And one of the girls said, if you feel like doing nothing that day, do nothing. And I was like, you know what? Oh, yeah, that's a really good idea. And then I tried that.
yeah,
I was like, okay, today I'm on my period and I feel like doing nothing, so I'm gonna do nothing.
yeah.
It's
No,
not, even if you manage to do it, the end of the day you feel so guilty, like you wasted your
mm,
whole day,
the mental, yeah,
even though you literally probably couldn't actually do anything that day because
anything
of how bad you felt.
felt,
You
yeah.
still would feel guilty that, oh, I didn't do anything that day, but you literally
Mm.
couldn't. So
And I feel
it's,
like even though you might have physically done nothing, because you're so wrapped up in your head about, oh, I'm not doing anything, I feel guilty, I should be doing it. Like you're actually not resting because your brain is like, why aren't you doing
overactive.
anything? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So that is a journey that I'm still figuring out. I think the
yeah,
biggest, you know what I did actually, the biggest thing I did that I can say I did for my health was when I said, I'm going to leave my job. And I
yeah,
was so scared. Listen, I thought I was going to get kicked out. Like, I just was like, oh my gosh, I've worked since I was 13 years old. I've always had a job. And like I said, I was full time band six NHS pharmacist, which is on call as well. Did that, moved to a new job. Then I was, still full time because I was off sick so much. In like the 3 years I worked for that hospital, um, I was off 386 days out of 3 years. So I was off sick a lot, yeah. And because of that, there were, issues with managers. So they put me on a part-time contract. So I was
yeah,
only doing 18 hours. And I was still struggling with that because obviously once you're in hospital, you're in hospital. It doesn't matter whether
yeah,
you're full-time or part-time. And they couldn't sack me because obviously discrimination, but
yeah,
I just physically couldn't do it anymore. Like the stress of having to explain every single time to managers, and I was still in and out of hospital, and I was literally like, why am I like stressing myself to do this? Like clearly I'm in hospital more than I am out, and then when I'm
yeah,
out I'm trying to stress myself to go to work, and it's just this vicious cycle. That's probably why I'm going back to hospital. So I said, okay, I'm going to leave work for a bit. Like the
yeah,
plan was only for 2 years, but then things happened. Um, so yeah, one way I looked after myself then was to just really that, accept what my body was telling me. And it was telling me that it couldn't carry on anymore, which is why it was so sick. And
yeah,
accept the one way that I have been looking after myself more is accepting responsibility. When you grow up with a chronic condition, especially one that is so unpredictable and relies heavily on input from the NHS, like my condition requires a lot of IV medication, um, pain injections, IV fluids, oxygen. So you're used to that. Oh, when you're sick, all these interventions happen, and the intervention is what is getting you better. But I had to reframe my mind and say, but I also have a responsibility to make myself better.
yeah,
So I can't just rely on the hospital to keep making me better. And I can't rely on the fact that, oh, when I get sick, I'll just go there. Like I have to prevent that as much as I can. Sometimes you do everything right. You rest, you drink, you eat, and you're not stressed and you do still get sick. That does happen. But I had to accept that I am responsible for my health and I had to make better choices and I
yeah,
have to do things that can prevent me from having to be in that situation.
yeah,
So I think self reflection and accepting that you are responsible for your health and that my health is also it's an amana, like God gave me this body and this health to look after it and to protect it. And that in itself is a form of worship and servitude to him. So I have to, do my best to look after it the best I can.
Yeah.
So I've left stressful situations, for example, like work. I don't really get into much stressful situations anymore. I've got better at saying the word no, because I used to be such a people pleaser, and that used to take up a lot of physical energy, mental energy. Now if I don't feel well, or even if I feel fine, but I just know that thing is gonna take a lot of energy, I'll say, I've got better at saying no. So I look after myself in that way. And I am the queen of pain rubs. I have every single pain rub going. Inshallah, I plan to have my own pain rub business because, listen, Abaniki is the best. I think he's blowing it out, but this is the best.
Who doesn't know who so if you don't know who Aboliki is, like, that is,
I know.
I feel bad for you.
I feel for you. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when you'd have a cold as a child, and your mom would just wrap it all over your neck and everything. Oh gosh, just smelling like onions for days.
Onions, I don't think it smells like onions. But I like the smell of it.
It smells spicy, like it smells spicy. Really spicy.
It does smell spicy. Yeah,
like they'll just rub it all over your neck and everything, your chest. Oh gosh.
Think about anyone that's like British born or British. Think about Vicks on steroids. It's like Vicks times 1,000. That's what it is. So yeah, I use a lot of pain rubs. I use a lot of heat. So I have a heat pad, heated blankets, massage. I use those to look after myself. And then once I'm in hospital, I used to be really hard on myself when I used to be in the hospital. Like I said, I did my whole master's in hospital and got a first. So I worked hard in hospital. Mubarak. And now I couldn't fathom doing that now. Now I'm like, if I'm in, that's it. I'm do not disturb. And when I come out as well, I give myself 3 days. I probably should give myself longer. But for 3 days, I just say, it's okay if I don't do anything.
Yeah.
I used to do a lot of doom scrolling and watching Netflix, but I've been trying to be more productive with my time. So now I do other things, such as I might watch a podcast or read a book. Or sometimes I just lie there and just think, or just don't even think. I just lie there and just stare into space and just give myself and brain that time just to do nothing. And I also invest a lot of my time and energy into my loved ones, because they also are the reason they keep me healthy. They keep me accountable. They keep me healthy. They keep me going. They keep me fed. They keep me dressed, like they keep me walk, like having a good network, whether it's a small one or a large one, is really important. So when I can, I try and invest into that, because there are times where I can't attend something that's really important to that person. I can't attend it. I can't be there, or I've missed something for that person, but I'll try my best to make up for it, so that the relationship can still flourish, because I need them and they need me. So that's, those are all the things that I do to kind of maintain my health. And can't think of any other. Oh, how am I forgetting? Another big one is I travel when I can. I always travel when I can, inshallah. And I travel to hot climates. You won't catch me going to Iceland. I mean, I'd love to go and see the Northern Lights, but I don't know about that. Anywhere that's cold, just don't count me in.
I mean, for the sake of your health, it makes sense for you not to. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So I do like to travel as much as I can, which is a privilege with sickle cell, because it's difficult to travel. It's expensive. My travel insurance, listen, if we had all the time in the world, I'd tell you a story of when I went to America and I got sick and how much it cost me to be there. Yeah. My travel insurance is expensive. Like at the moment, I pay over £2,000. 2,000, guys. No 200, just for travel insurance. So,
wow.
Yeah, traveling is a privilege for people with sickle cell. If you're going to get travel insurance. I know some people don't and they want to risk it, but that's not my personality. I can't be risking it. So yeah, this how I look after myself the best. I'm still learning.
Yeah. My last question would be, I don't know if you feel like this is a bit too personal for you, you can choose not to answer. But I wanted to ask, is having children something you've considered wanted to do, or is that something that is out of your plans in life?
Plans. So I've always wanted to have children. I love children. I actually want like 5 or 7. That would be a good number. Even if I get one, I'll be grateful.
Yeah.
But if my perfect world, I'd want 5 or 7. So I do want children. It's actually, you know what, hindsight is a wonderful thing. I believe that if I knew what I knew now, I would have started a lot earlier. But obviously, my life would have been different then. Maybe it wouldn't have been a Muslim marriage. Who knows? But
Yeah.
I do. Sickle cell itself doesn't affect fertility. Like your fertility, whatever your fertility would have been, it would have been that, regardless of whether you have sickle cell or not. But it can affect your pregnancy. It can affect, once you do become pregnant, the placenta and the blood flow, and it can make you a high risk pregnancy, so your birth could be more difficult. But I know a lot of people with sickle cell that have had children. I know some that haven't. Me personally, I do really want to have children. And when I've been in talks, I'm not married yet, inshallah. I answered, I'll bring my husband soon. I mean. When I have spoken to brothers for marriage, like we were talking about in it, it's one of my first questions that come up. And it's also, for me, why it's important. One of the reasons why trying to find the right person as much as I can is important, because I know that as a mother with sickle cell, my health could remain the same, or it could get worse, or it could get better. But if it does get worse, I need to know that my children will still be looked after.
Yeah.
I do know that it will have an impact on them, seeing a parent being unwell and, well, they have to have caring responsibilities, all those things. I do think about that sometimes. But yeah, if it's a good situation, it will happen. Like, Allah Ta'ala is not going to give me anything that isn't good, either for me or for them. And I think there's just ways around everything. As long as they don't have sickle cell, that's my most important focus. And but it is a worry of mine, because like I said, I'm in my 30s now. And with sickle cell, when you do hit your middle 30s, your fertility does drop compared to the general woman. It does drop a bit further. And one thing that has come up in my conversation with my consultant is the potential for a bone marrow transplant. And ever since she's brought that conversation up, it has been, children is something that's been playing on my mind, because to go through that process, I'd obviously need radiotherapy, chemotherapy. I'd have to freeze my eggs. So yeah, thinking about
does a bone marrow transplant make you not able to have children?
It significantly reduces your chances, like significantly. So it would be very rare to have a child naturally after bone marrow transplant. It can happen, but it's very rare. So most of the time you would do IVF. That's how you would carry your pregnancy. But they won't freeze my eggs until I'm actually on the transplant treatment. So it's a really difficult decision. Like, having sickle cell and thinking about children is a bigger conversation than I ever imagined when I was younger. I just thought it was as simple as making sure my partner doesn't have the trait or sickle cell. But when you actually have the condition, you have to think about these things. Like, you have to think about, should I freeze my eggs? When is the best time for me to have them? What complications could I get? If I aim and try and have a cure, because a bone marrow transplant could cure my sickle cell. At what cost? Do I want kids more than I want a cure? Can I have both? Like, what's available on the NHS, what would I have to fund privately? It is a big discussion, and especially now for the younger children coming up, because the bone marrow transplant has been, it's not a routine cure, but it is something that can cure sickle cell, that is offered on the NHS in certain circumstances. And then you have the gene therapy that just got approved, which you're probably really loving that right now. It's so your
I
bag.
saw that. I wanted to post about it, but I've just not had the chance to sit down and read it properly. I don't want to just post something
Properly.
I've not read
Yeah.
about, but I've definitely seen it all over my Instagram. I've seen it everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. It's been approved. I think they approved it last year, but there's a lot of children now that are going to get that option given to them.
yeah,
Imagine when you're like 12, 13, 14, 15, and your consultant saying you can have this cure that's going to fix your sickle cell. You're not thinking about at that age
having
children, how you're gonna,
exactly,
they're
exactly.
gonna have that conversation with them. They're gonna say, oh, it could affect your fertility, maybe you can't have kids, but they're not gonna understand the magnitude of that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that's dealt with, because a lot of children, just I know locally, have gone through that procedure already and are going through it. And I just think I struggle as a 30s, how am I, 34 year old, thinking about what decisions to make about my fertility with all the knowledge that I have.
Yeah,
How would I have done it as a
yeah,
teen?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, inshallah, I'll have children soon.
Inshallah,
So
inshallah.
we'll see how it goes.
Thank you so much for taking this time to speak with me.
You're
You've definitely
welcome.
opened up my eyes to some things that, um, again, like I was saying at the beginning, like I was saying before, like I've heard about sickle cell basically as long as I've been able to understand disease. I've heard about sickle cell, like from
Yeah.
school, from family, um, from my sister being a nurse, from now university and everything like that.
Hmm.
So, but I don't think I've understood exactly the human experience of sickle cell. And this is the first time I've gotten the opportunity to understand that. And
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for you to open up my eyes to that and to open up other people's eyes. And I hope this also teaches people and it also really, again, opens up their eyes to understand the severity of what we're talking about. Like it's not just about like genetics. It's a
Mm.
disease that people have to live with every
Yeah.
day. And from what you said, again, like you've said multiple times, it's unpredictable. it's
Mm.
it's like it brings you down to a
Yeah.
level that you might not be ready for, and it can go from 0 to 100 very quickly, right?
Yeah.
And that's what people have to think about before they make the choices they make about who they have children with, who they marry, who they end
Yeah.
up with. And it also reminds us that we need to learn as a community, and that we need to, just because something is not, just because it's not, this is not how it's done, or this is how it is done
Mm.
in our culture or in our family, doesn't mean that's how it always has to be done, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's
So
a
true.
big thing in the African community. I don't know about the Caribbean community, but in the African community, it very much is, oh, this is how it's always done. This is how it's always done. This is how it's always done.
Yeah.
But, and
Same.
I've
Yeah.
said this to my mom so many times, just because that's how it's done doesn't mean that is how it has to always be done.
Always. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
as a community, we need to grow, right? We need
Yeah. We
to
do.
grow and build. And I think that starts with us as
Mm.
a generation that is actually more open to learning.
Yeah.
And then we need to take that back to our
Mm.
parents who might not have even, who don't understand what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Who don't get it, who don't see it as a big issue. Um, and so, yeah, I think this is a step
Yeah.
further into building me as a person, and then also as us as a community and
Mm.
growing. And I really thank you for that. Jazakallah khair for taking the time.
No.
I enjoyed our conversation, and I will be praying for you. Genuinely,
Oh,
genuinely,
just looking like I
it has been
appreciate that.
lovely talking to you.
Yeah,
Thank you
you
very much.
too. Thank you so much for asking me and just hearing and listening, because it can be lonely and isolating when you have any condition, but with sickle cell, it can be hard as well. And to be able to speak honestly and openly. And some of the questions that you posed gave me a opportunity to really stop and think and reflect.
I'm glad. This is probably like my first time properly interviewing someone, so this
no,
is really
you did
nice.
really well.
Thank
Mashallah,
you.
you did really well.
Thank you so
Alhamdulillah, you did
much.
well. So thank you and continue the conversations and thank you for creating Gene Gems. Like I saw your page, I was like, oh my gosh, this is needed. Like subhanAllah, I just pray that it continues to grow and you get all of the success from it. I mean, and like you said, that our communities are able to change positively and to have better understandings of themselves and of us, like each other, and how we can affect change, not just on a molecular level, but as a community as well. So I really appreciate you having me. So thank you so much.